The rain pounded against the concrete like angry fists as Nathan Rodriguez stumbled down the sidewalk, his expensive suit soaked through and clinging to his trembling body. In his arms, 6-month-old Sophia screamed with the desperate hunger of a baby who hadn't eaten properly in days. His vision blurred, not from the rain, but from the crushing weight of exhaustion that had been building for months. The diaper bag slipped from his shoulder, spilling formula cans across the wet pavement as his legs finally gave out. Nathan crashed to his knees outside the Riverside Community Center, his baby's cries piercing through the storm. His chest burned with each labored breath, and black spots danced at the edges of his sight. This was it, he was going to collapse right here on the street with his daughter in his arms. 6 months of sleepless nights, of trying to be both mother and father, of throwing himself into work to escape the grief that threatened to swallow him whole, had finally caught up with him. "Oh my God, sir, are you okay?" A warm voice cut through the chaos in his mind. Strong hands reached for Sophia, and Nathan's protective instincts kicked in weakly. "Please," he gasped, looking up into the concerned brown eyes of a beautiful African-American woman in her late 20s. Her hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and despite the worn edges of her jacket, she radiated a warmth that Nathan hadn't felt in months. "She's hungry. I don't know what to do anymore." Kiana Washington didn't hesitate. She scooped Sophia from Nathan's trembling arms, immediately rocking the baby with the practiced ease of someone who understood children. "Shush, sweet baby, it's okay," she murmured, and Sophia's cries began to soften. "Sir, we need to get you both out of this rain. My apartment is just 2 blocks away. Can you walk?" Nathan tried to stand, but his legs wobbled dangerously. Without waiting for an answer, Kiana helped him to his feet, supporting his weight with surprising strength for her petite frame. She gathered the scattered formula cans with her free hand, balancing everything with the skill of someone used to managing multiple crises at once. "I'm Kiana," she said as they made their slow progress down the street. "What's your name, honey?" "Nathan," he managed between ragged breaths. "Her name is Sophia. She's all I have left." Something in his voice, the raw desperation, the bone-deep exhaustion of a man at the end of his rope, made Kiana's heart clench. She'd seen that look before, in her own mirror during the darkest days after Tyler's father left. But this man looked like he hadn't just hit rock bottom, he'd crashed through it and kept falling. "How long since you've eaten?" she asked gently. Nathan tried to remember. "Yesterday? The day before?" Time had become meaningless in the haze of sleepless nights and endless crying. "I don't know," he admitted. Kiana's jaw tightened with determination. She'd been heading to her second job at the diner, but that could wait. This man and his baby needed help now, and she wasn't the type to turn away from people in need. The walk to her apartment felt like miles, though it was only a few blocks. Nathan leaned heavily on her shoulder, his expensive leather shoes squelching with each step. Sophia had quieted in Kiana's arms, but her little whimpers spoke of deep hunger and discomfort. "Almost there," Kiana encouraged, guiding them up the steps to a modest brick building. Her apartment was on the 2nd floor, and Nathan nearly collapsed twice on the stairs. Each step felt like climbing a mountain with lead weights attached to his feet. Finally they reached her door. Kiana fumbled with her keys while balancing Sophia, then pushed the door open to reveal a small but immaculately clean living space. The furniture was clearly secondhand, but everything was arranged with care and love. Children's drawings decorated the refrigerator, and toys were neatly organized in colorful bins. "Tyler, baby, come here for a minute," Kiana called out. A 4-year-old boy with bright eyes and his mother's warm smile peeked around the corner from where he'd been playing with building blocks. "Mama, who's that?" Tyler asked, eyeing Nathan with curiosity rather than fear. "This is Mr. Nathan, and this is his baby Sophia. They need our help today, okay? Can you be my big helper?" Tyler nodded solemnly, immediately understanding the gravity of the situation with the wisdom of a child who'd learned early that sometimes people needed extra kindness. Kiana guided Nathan to her couch, where he collapsed with a grateful groan. Sophia's cries had started up again, more insistent now. Without being asked, Kiana went to her kitchen and began preparing a bottle with practiced efficiency. "When did she last eat?" Kiana asked over her shoulder as she warmed the formula. Nathan tried to focus through his exhaustion. "This morning? Maybe yesterday morning. I keep trying, but she won't take it from me. She just cries and cries, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong." Kiana's heart broke a little more. She'd been there, the frustration when nothing seemed to work, when you felt like you were failing the tiny person who depended on you for everything. But she could see the love in Nathan's eyes when he looked at his daughter, even through his exhaustion. "Sometimes babies can sense when we're stressed," she said gently, testing the formula temperature on her wrist. And stress makes everything harder. Here, let me try. She settled into the chair across from him, cradling Sophia with the natural grace of someone born to nurture. The baby's cries intensified for a moment, then gradually subsided as Kiana began speaking in soft, soothing tones. There we go, sweet girl. I know you're hungry. Mama Kiana's got you now. She offered the bottle, and after a moment's resistance, Sophia latched on eagerly. Nathan watched in amazement as his daughter, who had been inconsolable for what felt like days, relaxed completely in this stranger's arms. The silence that followed, broken only by Sophia's contented suckling sounds, felt like a miracle. How did you do that? He whispered, afraid to speak too loudly and break the spell. Kiana smiled, her eyes soft as she gazed down at the feeding baby. Practice. And patience. You're not doing anything wrong, Mr. Nathan. You're just exhausted. When was the last time you slept? Nathan rubbed his face with shaking hands. Really slept? I don't remember. Maybe a month ago? I try, but every time I close my eyes, I hear her crying or I think about. He stopped, unable to finish the sentence. About her mother, Kiana said quietly, understanding immediately. Nathan nodded, tears he'd been holding back for months finally spilling over. Isabella died giving birth to Sophia. Complications during delivery. One minute we were excited about meeting our daughter, and the next. His voice broke completely. Tyler, who had been quietly playing nearby, came over and patted Nathan's knee with small, gentle hands. It's okay to cry, Mr. Nathan. Mama says crying helps the hurt come out. The simple kindness of the gesture from this 4-year-old child shattered what remained of Nathan's composure. He buried his face in his hands and sobbed for Isabella, for the months of struggling alone, for the fear that he was failing their daughter. Kiana continued feeding Sophia, her own eyes misting over. She recognized the signs of a man drowning in grief and responsibility, just as she had once drowned in single motherhood and poverty. But unlike her situation, this man didn't have to carry his burden alone anymore. Tyler, can you get the blanket from Mama's room? She asked softly. Mr. Nathan needs to rest. As Tyler scampered away, Kiana made a decision that would change all their lives forever. She didn't know who Nathan really was. His clothes suggested money, but money couldn't fix a broken heart or teach someone how to care for a baby. What mattered was that he needed help, and she had love to give. Mr. Nathan, she said gently, you're going to stay here tonight. Both of you. Sophia needs consistent care and you need sleep. Real sleep. Nathan looked up, tears still streaming down his face. I can't ask you to do that. You don't even know me. You're not asking. I'm offering. And I don't need to know your whole life story to see that you're a good father who's in over his head. We've all been there. Tyler returned with the blanket, and Kiana tucked it around Nathan's shoulders. Sophia had finished her bottle and was already drifting off to sleep, her little face peaceful for the first time in days. But I should pay you or help somehow, Nathan protested weakly, even as his eyelids grew heavy. The only thing you need to do right now is sleep, Kiana said firmly. Everything else can wait until morning. As Nathan finally surrendered to exhaustion, Sophia safe in Kiana's experienced arms, neither of them could have imagined that this rainy afternoon would be the beginning of something beautiful. They were just two broken people who had found each other in their darkest moment, ready to discover that sometimes the family you choose is the one that saves you. Nathan woke to the sound of gentle humming and the smell of something delicious cooking. For a moment he couldn't remember where he was. The couch beneath him was unfamiliar, softer than his expensive furniture at home but somehow more comforting. Sunlight streamed through curtains that weren't his, and the walls around him were decorated with children's artwork instead of expensive paintings. Then it all came rushing back: the collapse, the rain, the beautiful woman who had taken them in without question. He sat up quickly, panic flooding his chest. Sophia. She's right here, came Kiana's calm voice from the kitchen. Just finished her morning bottle. She slept through the night for the first time in weeks, I bet. Nathan stumbled toward the sound of her voice, his body still aching from exhaustion but his mind much clearer after 12 hours of uninterrupted sleep. He found Kiana standing at the stove, Sophia contentedly propped against her shoulder while she stirred something that smelled like heaven. I can't believe she slept, Nathan said in wonder, reaching out to stroke his daughter's soft hair. Sophia gurgled happily at his touch, more alert and content than he'd seen her in months. Babies sleep better when they feel safe, Kiana explained, turning to smile at him. She looked even more beautiful in the morning light, her hair loose around her shoulders and her face glowing with the satisfaction of a job well done. She ate every 3 hours like clockwork, went right back to sleep each time. You were up with her all night? Nathan asked, guilt washing over him. I should have helped. Honey, you were dead to the world and that's exactly what you needed. Besides, I'm used to night feedings. Tyler was a terrible sleeper when he was little. As if summoned by his name, Tyler appeared at Nathan's side, tugging on his pants leg. Mr. Nathan, are you feeling better? Mama made pancakes. Nathan looked down at the little boy's earnest face and felt something shift in his chest. When was the last time someone had shown him such uncomplicated kindness? I'm much better, thank you. And thank you for sharing your mama with us. Tyler beamed. Mama says sharing is how we show love. Kiana placed a steaming plate of pancakes in front of Nathan, along with a cup of coffee that was exactly the right temperature. Eat, she commanded gently. You're going to make yourself sick if you don't start taking better care of yourself. Nathan wanted to protest, to insist he was fine, but his body betrayed him by practically groaning at the smell of real food. He couldn't remember the last time he'd eaten a proper meal. He took a bite and closed his eyes in bliss. This is incredible, he said. I haven't tasted anything this good in months. It's just pancakes, Kiana laughed, but he could see the pleasure in her eyes at his appreciation. No, it's not just pancakes. He struggled to find the words. It's care. It's love. I'd forgotten what that felt like. Kiana's expression softened. She shifted Sophia to her other arm and sat down across from him. Tell me about her mother if you want to. Sometimes it helps to talk. Nathan set down his fork, his throat tightening. Isabella was everything good in the world. She was a pediatric nurse. She would have been such an amazing mother. We tried for years to have Sophia, went through fertility treatments, miscarriages. When we finally got pregnant with her, we were so happy. Tyler climbed into his mother's lap, sensing the sadness in Nathan's voice. Kiana smoothed his hair automatically, the gesture so natural and loving that Nathan felt another stab of loss for what Sophia would never have. The pregnancy was perfect, Nathan continued. No complications, no problems. Isabella was glowing, making all these plants. She had the nursery decorated, clothes picked out, lullabies chosen. Then during labor something went wrong. Placental abruption, the doctors said. They had to do an emergency C-section. His voice broke, but somehow it felt safe to cry here, with Kiana's gentle eyes on him and Sophia gurgling peacefully in her arms. They saved Sophia, but Isabella started bleeding and couldn't stop. She held our daughter for maybe 10 minutes before. He couldn't finish. Before she had to let go, Kiana said softly. But she gave Sophia the most precious gift, those 10 minutes of being held by her mama. Sophia carries that with her, even if she doesn't remember it. Nathan looked up, surprised by the unexpected comfort in those words. You really think so? I know so. Love like that doesn't just disappear. It stays with us, becomes part of who we are. She bounced Sophia gently. This little girl has her mama's love inside her, and your love surrounding her. That's powerful magic. I don't feel like I'm giving her enough love, Nathan confessed. I keep messing up. I can't figure out her cries, can't get her to sleep, can't even feed her properly half the time. Isabella would have known exactly what to do. Isabella would have been learning too, Kiana said firmly. Nobody's born knowing how to be a parent. We all figure it out as we go and we all mess up sometimes. The difference is, you've been trying to do it all alone while grieving the loss of your partner. That's not fair to you or to Sophia. But I'm her father. I should be able to handle this. Being a good father doesn't mean doing everything by yourself. It means making sure your child has what she needs, even if that means accepting help from others. Tyler wiggled in his mother's lap. Like how Mama lets Mrs. Chen watch me sometimes when she has to work late? Exactly like that, baby, Kiana said, kissing the top of his head. Community helps us be better parents. Nathan stared at them, this small family who had taken him and Sophia in without hesitation, who had shown them more care in 18 hours than he'd been able to give his own daughter in weeks. Why are you helping us? You don't know anything about me. I could be anyone. Kiana met his eyes steadily. Because when I was at my lowest point with Tyler, someone helped me. Mrs. Rivera next door, she used to watch him when I had to work double shifts. She'd make us dinner when I was too tired to cook. She never asked for anything in return, just said that's what people do for each other. And now you're paying it forward? Now I'm doing what feels right. Sophia needed someone to feed her and love her. You needed someone to remind you that you don't have to carry this alone. I can do those things. Nathan felt tears threatening again, but these were different tears, not the desperate, hopeless sobs of last night, but something warmer, more healing. I don't know how to repay you. You don't need to repay kindness, Kiana said simply. You just need to accept it. Sophia started fussing, and without thinking, Nathan reached for her. To his amazement, his daughter settled immediately in his arms, no longer the rigid, crying bundle she'd become over the past weeks. She looked up at him with bright, alert eyes, and for the first time since Isabella's death, Nathan felt like he might actually be able to do this. She looks happier, he said in wonder. She feels your peace, Kiana explained. When you're less stressed, she's less stressed. It's all connected. How do you know so much about babies? Kiana's smile was tinged with sadness. I had Tyler when I was 22. His father left when I was 6 months pregnant. I had to figure it out fast with a lot of help from neighbors and other single moms. We looked out for each other. That must have been incredibly difficult. It was. There were nights I didn't think I could make it through. But Tyler needed me to be strong, so I learned how to be strong. Just like Sophia needs you to be strong. Nathan looked down at his daughter, who was now playing with his fingers, completely content. She does seem different here. Calmer. Because this is what family feels like, Tyler piped up with the wisdom of someone far beyond his 4 years. When people love you, you feel safe. Nathan's breath caught. Family. When was the last time he'd felt like he was part of a family? Even before Isabella's death, it had just been the two of them, isolated in their wealth and success. They'd had money but not community, luxury but not support. What do you do for work? Nathan asked, suddenly realizing how little he knew about this woman who had saved them. I work at Murphy's laundromat during the day, and I pick up shifts at the diner on weekends, Kiana said matter-of-factly. It keeps food on the table and rent paid. Nathan's eyes widened. She was working 2 jobs to support herself and Tyler, living in a tiny apartment, and yet she'd taken them in without a second thought. She'd given up her tips from the diner last night to care for strangers. Kiana, I need to tell you something, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I'm not just grateful for what you've done. I'm in awe of who you are. Your generosity, your strength, your capacity for love, it's extraordinary. She blushed, looking down at her hands. I'm just doing what anyone would do. No, Nathan said firmly. You're doing what you would do. And that makes all the difference. As Sophia dozed in his arms and Tyler chattered about his favorite cartoons, Nathan felt something he hadn't experienced in months: hope. Maybe he couldn't do this alone, but maybe he didn't have to. Maybe accepting help wasn't failing as a father but succeeding as a human being. He looked at Kiana, who was cleaning up breakfast while humming the same gentle tune that had woken him, and made a silent promise. Somehow, some way he was going to make sure this remarkable woman and her son never had to worry about money or security again. She had saved his family when they needed it most. Now it was his turn to save hers. 3 days had passed since that rainy afternoon, and Nathan found himself reluctant to leave the warmth of Kiana's apartment. Each morning, he told himself he should take Sophia home, return to his normal life, stop imposing on this generous woman's hospitality. But each time he looked at his daughter, truly content for the first time since her birth, he couldn't bring himself to go. Sophia was thriving under Kiana's care. She ate regularly, slept peacefully, and had even started smiling real, genuine baby smiles that made Nathan's heart soar. More importantly, she no longer cried when he held her. Kiana had taught him to read Sophia's cues, to understand her different cries, to find the rhythm of feeding and sleeping that every baby needed. You're getting good at this, Kiana said, watching Nathan successfully burp Sophia after her morning bottle. Look how comfortable she is with you now. Nathan beamed with pride. I never thought I'd be able to do this. Isabella always said she was the baby whisperer in our relationship. You both would have learned together, Kiana said gently. That's what couples do, they figure it out as a team. But I haven't been part of a team in months, Nathan admitted. It's just been me failing at everything. Tyler looked up from his coloring book at the kitchen table. Mr. Nathan, you're not failing anymore. Sophia smiles at you now. Out of the mouths of babes. Nathan ruffled Tyler's hair affectionately. Over the past few days, he'd grown incredibly fond of this wise little boy who had accepted him and Sophia into their home with such open arms. Tyler's right, Kiana said. You're learning, and that's all any parent can do. Nathan settled Sophia in her bouncy seat, another item Kiana had somehow produced from her seemingly endless supply of baby equipment borrowed from neighbors. Kiana, can I ask you something? Of course. Why do you have all this baby stuff? Tyler's 4, but you have everything Sophia needs: bottles, blankets, even clothes that fit her perfectly. Kiana's hands stilled on the dish she was washing. For a moment, something flickered across her face, a shadow of old pain. The neighbors help out when babies come to visit. Mrs. Chen's granddaughter outgrew some things. Mrs. Rivera saved bottles from when her son was little. It was a reasonable explanation, but Nathan sensed there was more to it. He'd become attuned to the subtle signs of grief over the past months, and he recognized something familiar in Kiana's careful tone. "But that's not the whole story, is it?" he asked gently. Kiana dried her hands slowly, then came to sit across from him. Tyler continued coloring, but Nathan could tell the little boy was listening with the quiet attention of a child who had learned to gauge his mother's moods. "I was pregnant once after Tyler," she said quietly. "About 2 years ago. I was excited Tyler was so good with babies, and I thought he'd love being a big brother." Nathan's chest tightened with understanding. "What happened?" "I lost the baby at 22 weeks. Far enough along that I'd bought things, prepared a nursery in the corner of Tyler's room. I couldn't bring myself to get rid of everything afterward. I kept thinking maybe someday." "Oh, Kiana." Nathan reached across the table and covered her hand with his. "I'm so sorry." She squeezed his fingers gratefully. "It's why I recognized the look in your eyes that first night. Grief has a very specific weight to it. You learn to carry it, but you never forget what it feels like." Tyler abandoned his crayons and climbed into his mother's lap, wrapping his small arms around her neck. "Mama, are you sad about the baby again?" "A little bit, sweet boy. But having Sophia here makes me happy too. Sometimes sad and happy can live in the same heart." Nathan felt his throat tighten. This woman had lost a child, was struggling to make ends meet working 2 jobs, and yet she'd opened her home to him and Sophia without hesitation. Her generosity wasn't just kindness, it was courage. "The father?" Nathan asked carefully. "Tyler's father. He came back around that time, said he wanted to try again. When I lost the baby, he left again. Said it was too complicated, too much baggage." Her voice was matter-of-fact, but Nathan could hear the hurt underneath. "What an idiot," Nathan said with feeling. Kiana laughed, surprising him. "That's what Mrs. Rivera said." In Spanish. Much more colorful language. "She sounds like a wise woman." "She is. She told me that some men run from responsibility but real men run toward it. She said I'd know the difference when I found it." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, Tyler dozing in his mother's arms while Sophia gurgled contentedly in her seat. Nathan felt the weight of Kiana's trust in sharing her story, and knew it was time to share his own truth. "Kiana, I haven't been completely honest with you." She looked up, alert but not alarmed. "What do you mean?" Nathan took a deep breath. "You asked what I do for work and I never really answered. The truth is I don't have to work. Not in the traditional sense." "I don't understand." "I'm wealthy. Very wealthy. Rodriguez Industries, that's my company. We develop medical technology, supply hospitals across the country. I inherited it from my father and built it into something much bigger." Kiana blinked, processing this information. "You're rich." "I'm rich," Nathan confirmed. "That penthouse across town with the glass walls and the view of the river? That's my home. I have cars worth more than most people make in a year. I could buy this entire building if I wanted to." Tyler perked up with interest. "Are you like a prince, Mr. Nathan?" "Not exactly, buddy. More like a businessman who got very lucky." Kiana was quiet for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Nathan felt anxiety creep up his spine. Was she angry that he'd hidden this from her? Did she feel deceived? "Why didn't you tell me before?" she asked finally. "Because I was afraid you'd treat me differently. I was afraid you'd see the money instead of the broken man who needed help. And because—" He paused, gathering courage. "Because for the first time since Isabella died, I felt like someone saw me for who I really am, not what I have." "And who are you really?" Nathan looked down at Sophia, then back at Kiana's steady gaze. "I'm a father who had no idea what he was doing. A husband who lost the love of his life. A man who threw himself into work to avoid dealing with grief and almost lost his daughter in the process. The money didn't matter when I was collapsed on that sidewalk. It didn't teach me how to feed Sophia or help her sleep. It couldn't buy me what you gave us that night." "Which was?" "Love. Family. A place to belong." Kiana's eyes softened. "Money doesn't change who you are in your heart, Nathan. Rich or poor, you're still a good man trying to do right by his daughter. But it does change things between us," Nathan said carefully. "I want to help you, Kiana. I want to pay you for what you've done, make your life easier. You shouldn't have to work 2 jobs to survive. Tyler should have everything he needs." Kiana stiffened slightly. "I don't need charity. It's not charity. It's gratitude. You saved my daughter's life and probably mine too. You gave us exactly what we needed when we needed it most. Let me do the same for you." "Nathan." Please, he said earnestly. I know you're proud and I respect that. But Tyler deserves security, and you deserve not to worry about rent or groceries or medical bills. I can give you that without even noticing the money's gone. Isabella would have wanted me to take care of people who showed kindness to Sophia. Kiana was quiet for several minutes, clearly weighing his words. Tyler had fallen asleep in her lap, and she stroked his hair absently while she thought. What exactly are you proposing? She asked finally. Let me set up accounts for you and Tyler. College fund for him, emergency fund for you. Let me pay off your debts and cover your rent for the next year while you figure out what you really want to do with your life instead of just surviving day to day. That's too much. It's nothing compared to what you've given us. Kiana, you took strangers into your home and treated us like family. You taught me how to be a father to my own daughter. You brought joy and peace into our lives when we had nothing but grief and chaos. How do you put a price on that? Kiana looked down at Tyler, then over at Sophia, who was watching them with bright, curious eyes. I didn't do it for money. I know. That's exactly why I want to do this. Because you helped us when you had nothing to gain and everything to lose. Because you saw a man and a baby who needed love and you gave it freely. And what do you get out of it? Nathan's answer came from the deepest part of his heart. The knowledge that the woman who saved my family never has to worry about taking care of hers. The peace of knowing that Tyler gets every opportunity he deserves. The joy of seeing Sophia grow up knowing the woman who first showed her what mother's love feels like. Tears gathered in Kiana's eyes. You really mean all that? Every word. Kiana, you've given me something I thought I'd lost forever, hope. Let me give you something in return. Let me give you freedom. She was quiet for so long that Nathan began to worry he'd overstepped, pushed too hard. But finally she looked up at him with a smile that transformed her entire face. Okay, she said simply. With gratitude I accept your help. Nathan felt a weight lift from his chest that he hadn't even realized he'd been carrying. Thank you. For letting me do this, for everything you've done. I promise you won't regret it. I know I won't, Kiana said. Because this isn't really about money, is it? It's about family taking care of family. And as Sophia gurgled her approval and Tyler slept peacefully in his mother's arms, Nathan realized she was absolutely right. Somewhere in the past few days they had become family. Not through blood or marriage, but through love and choice and the simple recognition that some people are meant to find each other when they need it most. The money would make their lives easier, but it was the love that would make them whole. 2 weeks had passed since Nathan's revelation about his wealth, and their daily routine had settled into something that felt remarkably like a real family. Each morning, Nathan would arrive at Kiana's apartment with coffee and pastries from the bakery down the street, not because she asked for them, but because he'd noticed the way her eyes lit up when she tasted good coffee. You don't have to bring breakfast every day, Kiana said as Nathan set down bags from 3 different bakeries on her kitchen counter. Though I have to admit, trying all these pastries is becoming my favorite part of the morning. I'm conducting important research, Nathan replied seriously, unwrapping a chocolate croissant. I need to find the best bakery in the city so I know where to order from when we have important occasions to celebrate. What kind of occasions? Tyler asked, climbing onto his chair with the excitement of someone who knew good food was coming. Well, when Sophia starts sitting up by herself, when she says her first word, when you start kindergarten in the fall, Nathan listed, handing Tyler a child-sized apple turnover. All the moments that matter. Kiana felt her heart squeeze at the casual way Nathan included Tyler in Sophia's milestones, as if it was the most natural thing in the world for them all to celebrate together. Over the past 2 weeks, Nathan had become as devoted to Tyler as he was to his own daughter, reading bedtime stories, playing games, treating him like the son he'd never had. Speaking of kindergarten, Nathan said, settling Sophia in her high chair and offering her a bottle, I've been thinking about schools for Tyler. He's already enrolled in the public school, Kiana said carefully. She'd learned to recognize the tone Nathan used when he was about to offer something generous, and while she'd accepted his help with finances, she was still adjusting to the idea of someone else caring about Tyler's future. I know, and that's fine if it's what you want. But I've been researching some private schools with excellent programs. Smaller class sizes, more individual attention, better resources. Tyler looked between them with the sharp intelligence of a child who understood that important decisions were being made about his life. What's a private school? It's a school where there are fewer kids in each class, so teachers can spend more time helping each student learn, Nathan explained. They have things like art studios and science labs and libraries with lots of books. That sounds cool, Tyler said. Would I still get to make friends? Lots of friends, Nathan assured him. Kids from all over the city whose parents want them to have the best education possible. Kiana set down her coffee cup, her expression thoughtful. Nathan, that's incredibly generous, but those schools are expensive. Really expensive. Money that means nothing to me but could change Tyler's entire future, Nathan said simply. He's brilliant, Kiana. I've watched him solve puzzles meant for kids twice his age, ask questions that show real curiosity about how the world works. He deserves every opportunity to develop that potential. But what if people at a fancy school look down on us? What if Tyler feels out of place? Nathan reached across the table and took her hand. Do you know what I see when I look at Tyler? I see a kind, intelligent, confident little boy who makes friends wherever he goes. I see someone who cares about others, who shares his toys, who comforts adults when they're sad. Those are the qualities that matter, not how much money someone's parents have. Besides, he continued with a smile, if anyone gives Tyler trouble about anything, they'll have to answer to me. And I can be pretty intimidating when I need to be. Tyler giggled. You're not scary, Mr. Nathan. You make funny faces when you change Sophia's diapers. That's because Sophia has some very stinky diapers, Nathan replied solemnly, making Tyler laugh harder. Kiana watched the easy interaction between them and felt her last reservations crumble. Nathan didn't just care about Tyler's education, he cared about Tyler, period. He'd shown up every day for 2 weeks, not just to see Sophia but to read with Tyler, play games with him, listen to his endless questions about everything from dinosaurs to spaceships. Okay, she said quietly. If you really think it's the right thing for Tyler, then yes. With gratitude. Nathan's face lit up with pure joy. Really? You'll let me do this? You're not just doing this for Tyler, Kiana realized aloud. You're doing this for all of us. Because you see us as a family. Because we are a family, Nathan said without hesitation. Maybe not in the traditional way, but in all the ways that count. Tyler, who had been following the conversation with the intensity of someone much older, suddenly got up from his chair and hugged Nathan tightly. Thank you for taking care of us, Mr. Nathan. Nathan's eyes filled with tears as he hugged the little boy back. Thank you for letting me, buddy. Sophia chose that moment to bang her spoon against her high chair tray, making them all laugh. She was getting more interactive every day, responding to their voices and faces with the bright attention of a baby who felt completely secure and loved. Someone wants attention, Kiana said, lifting Sophia from her chair. Don't you, sweet girl? Sophia gurgled happily and reached for Kiana's face with chubby fingers. The sight never failed to amaze Nathan. His daughter, who had been so unhappy and difficult in those first months, was now a completely different baby. Calm, content, developing exactly as she should. She's changed so much, he said wonderingly. I hardly recognize her as the same baby who cried all the time. She was never a difficult baby, Kiana said, bouncing Sophia gently. She was a stressed baby. There's a big difference. Once she felt safe and secure, her real personality could come through. And what's her real personality like? Kiana studied Sophia's face with the attention of someone who had spent countless hours getting to know this little person. She's curious. Watch how she follows conversations, like she's trying to understand what we're saying. She's social. She smiles more when there are people around than when she's alone. And she's determined. When she wants something, she makes sure you know it. She gets the determination from Isabella, Nathan said with a mixture of pride and sadness. Isabella never gave up on anything or anyone. She gets it from you too, Kiana pointed out. You didn't give up on being a good father, even when everything felt impossible. You kept trying, kept looking for ways to do better for her. I was ready to give up that night I collapsed, Nathan admitted. If you hadn't found us. But I did find you. And you didn't give up. You accepted help, which is actually harder for some people than struggling alone. Tyler, who had finished his turnover, came over to peer at Sophia with the fascination of someone who was discovering what it meant to be a big brother. Can Sophia play with my toys yet? Not the small ones, Kiana explained. Babies put everything in their mouths, so she needs special baby toys that are safe for her. Can we get her some baby toys? Tyler asked Nathan with the confidence of someone who had learned that this man said yes to requests that helped the people he loved. Actually, Nathan said, I was thinking we could do something even better. What if we set up a real nursery for Sophia? With everything she needs as she gets bigger? Kiana looked around her small apartment. Nathan, there's no room here for a nursery. This place is barely big enough for me and Tyler as it is. Nathan took a deep breath. This was the conversation he'd been building up to for days, the suggestion that would either bring them closer together or create distance between them. What if you didn't have to stay here? What do you mean? I mean, what if you and Tyler moved in with Sophia and me? My house has plenty of room. Tyler could have his own bedroom, Sophia could have a proper nursery, you could have space to breathe and privacy when you need it. Kiana stared at him. You're asking us to move in with you? I'm asking you to let me take care of you the way you've taken care of us. I'm asking you to be part of our family officially, not just practically. Nathan, that's a huge step. What if it doesn't work out? What if we drive each other crazy living together? Then we figure it out like families do. But Kiana, I can't imagine my life without you and Tyler in it anymore. These past 2 weeks have been the happiest Sophia and I have been since Isabella died. Not just because of your help with Sophia, but because of the joy you've brought back into our lives. Tyler was looking back and forth between them with growing excitement. Would I really have my own room? With space for all my toys? Your own room, your own bathroom, a playroom for all your toys, and a backyard where you can run around, Nathan promised. What about Mama? Would she be happy there? Nathan looked directly at Kiana as he answered. I would do everything in my power to make sure your mama is happy there. Because her happiness matters to me as much as yours and Sophia's does. Kiana felt tears gathering in her eyes. The offer was more than generous, it was life-changing. No more worrying about rent, no more cramped living space, no more struggling to make ends meet. But more than that, it was the offer of belonging somewhere, of being part of something bigger than just her and Tyler against the world. What would be the arrangement? She asked practically. Would I be Sophia's nanny? A housekeeper? How would this work? You would be family, Nathan said firmly. Not an employee, not hired help. Family. You'd help with Sophia because you love her, just like I'd help with Tyler because I love him. We'd share responsibilities, share decisions, share our lives. And if someone asks who I am? Nathan's answer came without hesitation. You're the woman who saved my daughter and taught me how to be a father. You're Tyler's amazing mother and Sophia's second mom. You're the person I trust most in the world with the things that matter most to me. Sophia had fallen asleep in Kiana's arms during their conversation, completely relaxed and content. Tyler was practically vibrating with excitement at the prospect of his own room and a backyard to play in. Kiana looked around her small apartment, the place where she'd struggled and survived, where she'd raised Tyler with love but not much else. Then she looked at Nathan, whose eyes held hope and sincerity and something deeper that she was beginning to recognize. Tyler, what do you think? She asked her son. Should we go live with Mr. Nathan and Sophia? Yes. Tyler said immediately. We could be a real family then, right? We're already a real family, baby, Kiana said softly. But yes, if we moved in together, we'd be living like a family too. She turned back to Nathan, her decision made. Okay. Yes. We'll move in with you. But I have conditions. Anything, Nathan said quickly. I still want to contribute. I don't want to just live in your house and let you pay for everything. I want to feel useful, needed for more than just childcare. Done. What else? Tyler and I keep our independence. If this doesn't work out, we need to know we can leave with our dignity intact. I'll set up a trust fund that gives you complete financial security whether you stay or go, Nathan promised. You'll never be trapped or dependent. And one more thing, Kiana said, her voice soft but firm. Sophia needs to know about her mother. I never want to replace Isabella or try to make Sophia forget her. I want to honor her memory and make sure Sophia grows up knowing how much her mother loved her. Nathan's voice was thick with emotion when he answered. That means everything to me, Kiana. Thank you. As Tyler cheered and Sophia slept peacefully in her arms, Kiana felt something she hadn't experienced in years, the security of knowing that her family was going to be okay. More than okay. They were going to thrive. And maybe, just maybe, she was going to find the kind of love she'd stopped believing existed. The kind that wasn't just passion and romance, but partnership and respect and the deep contentment of building something beautiful together. The move to Nathan's penthouse had been surprisingly smooth. Tyler had been in awe of his new bedroom, which was bigger than their entire old apartment, while Sophia seemed to sense the positive energy and slept better than ever in her beautiful new nursery. Kiana had taken longer to adjust, overwhelmed by the luxury but grateful for the space and security. 3 weeks into their new living arrangement, they had developed rhythms that felt natural and right. Nathan would leave for work each morning after helping with Sophia's breakfast bottle, while Kiana spent her days caring for both children and slowly exploring what it meant to not worry about money for the first time in her adult life. I still can't believe this kitchen, Kiana said, preparing lunch while Sophia sat in her high chair and Tyler played with blocks on the floor nearby. The kitchen was 3 times the size of her old apartment, with gleaming appliances and more cabinet space than she could ever fill. I barely used it before you moved in, Nathan admitted, coming home for lunch as had become his habit. I lived on takeout and whatever my housekeeper left in the refrigerator. Your housekeeper? Former housekeeper. I let her go when you moved in. It seemed wrong to have someone else cleaning up after us when you're perfectly capable of managing the house. Kiana paused in her cooking. Nathan, you didn't have to fire someone because of me. I didn't fire her because of you. I let her go because I realized I don't want strangers in my house anymore. I want it to be just us, our family, our space, our privacy. The way he said our family sent warmth spreading through Kiana's chest. Every day, in small ways and large ones, Nathan made it clear that he considered her and Tyler full members of his family, not guests or temporary additions. Besides, Nathan continued, loosening his tie and reaching for Sophia, Mrs. Patterson was getting older and the commute was hard on her. I gave her a generous severance package and helped her find a position closer to her home. She was actually relieved. Sophia squealed with delight when she saw her father, reaching for him with grabby hands. The transformation in their relationship over the past month had been remarkable to watch. Nathan was now confident and natural with his daughter, reading her cues perfectly and responding with the intuitive love of a parent who finally understood his child. How was your morning? Nathan asked, settling Sophia on his lap while Kiana plated sandwiches. Good. Sophia had her checkup with Dr. Martinez. She's gained 2 pounds since last month and hit all her developmental milestones. The doctor said whatever we're doing we should keep doing it. That's wonderful news. Nathan kissed the top of Sophia's head. What else did the doctor say? That she's one of the happiest, most secure babies she's seen. Dr. Martinez asked about our support system. Said it was clear Sophia felt very loved and safe. Tyler abandoned his blocks to climb into his own chair at the kitchen island. Dr. Martinez gave me a sticker for being a good big brother. She did? Nathan asked with exaggerated surprise. What kind of sticker? A dinosaur. Want to see? Tyler proudly displayed the sticker on his shirt. That's the best dinosaur sticker I've ever seen, Nathan said seriously. You must be an excellent big brother to earn something that special. I help Mama give Sophia her bottles, and I make her laugh when she's fussy, and I share my toys with her even though she can't play with them yet. Those are very important big brother jobs, Nathan agreed. Sophia is lucky to have you. Kiana watched this interaction with a full heart. Nathan never talked down to Tyler or dismissed his contributions. He treated the 4-year-old with the same respect and attention he gave to adults, which had resulted in Tyler blossoming with confidence and maturity. What about you? Kiana asked as they ate lunch. How was your morning? Productive. We're launching a new line of pediatric monitoring equipment next quarter. Devices that help doctors track premature babies' vital signs more accurately. Nathan's eyes found Sophia. It's funny how different my priorities have become since becoming a father. Every project we work on now, I think about how it might help other babies like Sophia. That's beautiful, Kiana said softly. Isabella would be proud of how you're honoring her memory through your work. Nathan smiled, no longer flinching at mentions of his late wife. Kiana had kept her promise to make sure Isabella remained part of their family story, talking about her naturally and helping Nathan process his grief in healthy ways. I brought something home for you, Nathan said, reaching into his briefcase and pulling out a thick envelope. What is it? Information about interior design programs at the local college. I noticed how you've been rearranging things in the house, adding personal touches. You have a real eye for making spaces feel like home. Kiana opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside were brochures for design programs, financial aid information, and a schedule of classes starting in the fall. Nathan, I can't go to college. Who would watch Sophia and Tyler? I would. Or we'd hire a part-time babysitter for the hours when I'm working and you're in class. Kiana, you're 26 years old. You have so much life ahead of you, so much potential. You shouldn't have to put your dreams on hold forever. I don't even know what my dreams are anymore, she admitted. It's been so long since I could think beyond just surviving day to day. Then this is your chance to figure it out. Take some classes, explore what interests you. See what makes you excited to get up in the morning besides taking care of kids, though that's important too. Tyler looked up from his sandwich. Mama, you should go to school like me. We could do homework together. The idea was terrifying and thrilling at the same time. Kiana had always been smart, had done well in high school before Tyler's father had derailed her plans. But college had seemed impossible when she was working multiple jobs just to keep food on the table. What if I'm not smart enough? What if I can't keep up with kids who went straight from high school to college? Then you'll work harder and prove that life experience is just as valuable as book knowledge, Nathan said firmly. Kiana, you're one of the most intelligent, capable people I know. You've raised an amazing son while supporting yourself with no help from anyone. You've learned to care for a baby you'd never met before and helped her father figure out how to be a parent. If you can do all that, you can handle college. Sophia chose that moment to knock her sippy cup off the high chair tray, then laughed delightedly at the sound it made hitting the floor. Tyler giggled and retrieved it for her, earning another baby laugh. See, Nathan said, watching the interaction. You've already created such a loving, supportive environment for both kids. They're thriving because of you. Now it's time to let yourself thrive too. Kiana looked through the brochures again, her imagination beginning to spark with possibilities. Interior design does sound interesting. I've always loved creating beautiful spaces, even when I didn't have much to work with. You made that tiny apartment feel like a palace, Nathan said. Imagine what you could do with unlimited resources and professional training. Would you really support this? Even if it means you have to do more childcare, help with homework, manage bedtime routines? Kiana, I would support anything that makes you happy and helps you become the person you want to be. Besides, I'm their father and stepfather. The word came out naturally without thought and they both froze. Stepfather? Kiana repeated softly. Nathan's face went red. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to assume. I know we haven't talked about. I just meant that I love Tyler like he's my own son, and I want to be involved in his life in whatever way you'll let me. Nathan. Kiana reached across the counter and took his hand. For Tyler to have a stepfather, I'd have to be married to someone. Nathan's breath caught. Right. Yes. That's true. They stared at each other for a long moment, the weight of unspoken feelings heavy in the air. Tyler continued eating his sandwich, oblivious to the tension, while Sophia babbled happily to herself. I should get back to work, Nathan said finally, his voice slightly rough. Nathan, wait. He paused, hope and uncertainty warring in his expression. The design program, Kiana said quietly. I'd like to try it. If you really think we can make it work. Nathan's face broke into a brilliant smile. Really? Really? And Nathan? Thank you. For believing in me even when I don't believe in myself. Thank you for letting me be part of this family. For making me feel like I have something worth coming home to again. After Nathan left for work, Kiana sat at the kitchen island reading through the college brochures while the children napped. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to dream about the future, not just surviving it, but actively creating it. She thought about the way Nathan had said stepfather, so naturally, like it was an inevitable conclusion rather than a wild hope. She thought about the way he looked at her sometimes, when he thought she wasn't paying attention, with warmth and affection and something deeper that made her pulse quicken. Most of all, she thought about how safe she felt here, how right it all seemed. Tyler had never been happier, Sophia was thriving, and she was beginning to remember what it felt like to be more than just a mother struggling to get by. She was beginning to remember what it felt like to be a woman with dreams and desires and the possibility of love. Maybe, just maybe, they were building something even more beautiful than she dared to imagine. 5 months had passed since Kiana and Tyler moved in with Nathan and Sophia, and life had settled into something that felt remarkably like a dream Kiana had never dared to have. She was halfway through her first semester of interior design classes, Tyler was thriving in his new school, and Sophia had become the most content, happy baby imaginable. But it was the small moments that took Kiana's breath away. Nathan helping Tyler with homework while she studied for exams, family movie nights where they all piled onto the enormous couch, quiet mornings when Nathan would bring her coffee and they'd watch the sunrise together while the children slept. I have a proposition for you, Nathan said one evening after they put both children to bed. They were sitting in the living room, Kiana with her design textbooks spread across the coffee table and Nathan pretending to read financial reports while actually watching her study. Oh. Kiana looked up from her color theory homework. What kind of proposition? Nathan set aside his papers and moved to sit closer to her on the couch. I want to offer you a job. Kiana blinked in surprise. A job? Nathan, I already have the most important job in the world, taking care of Sophia and Tyler. I know, and you're incredible at it. But I'm talking about something official, something that would use your design talents and give you professional experience while you're in school. I'm not following. Nathan pulled out his tablet and showed her photos of a building downtown. Rodriguez Industries just purchased this building for our new family wellness center. It's going to provide medical services, childcare, parenting classes, and support groups for families in need. Basically, we want to create a place that gives people what you gave Sophia and me, that first night, help, hope, and a sense of community. Kiana studied the photos with growing excitement. The building had beautiful bones, high ceilings, large windows, good natural light. Nathan, this is amazing. What a wonderful thing to do. I want you to design it, he said simply. What? Kiana nearly dropped the tablet. Nathan, I'm a first-year design student. I've been in school for 4 months. I can't design an entire building. You can with the right support team. I've already talked to Martinez Architecture. They'll handle the structural elements and building codes. But I want you to design the interiors, choose the colors and furnishings, create spaces that feel welcoming and safe. Spaces that feel like home. But I don't have experience. You have something better than experience. You have understanding. You know what it feels like to need help and be afraid to ask for it. You know how to make people feel valued and cared for. Those are the most important qualifications for this job. Kiana set down the tablet with shaking hands. This is too much, Nathan. Too big of an opportunity. What if I mess it up? Then we'll fix it together. But you won't mess it up because you'll pour your heart into it the same way you pour your heart into everything you care about. Nathan reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder. I've put together a proposal. It includes a salary, benefits, a budget for the project, and a timeline that works around your class schedule. You'd have a team of contractors and assistants, but the vision would be yours. Kiana opened the folder and gasped at the salary figure. Nathan, this is more than most experienced designers make. Because this project means more to me than most design projects. Kiana, I'm not just offering you a job. I'm offering you a chance to create something that will help thousands of families over the years. And I'm offering you the professional credentials and experience you'll need to build your own career after graduation. Why? She whispered. Why are you doing all this for me? Nathan was quiet for a long moment, his eyes searching her face. Because somewhere along the way your dreams became as important to me as my own. Because seeing you happy and fulfilled makes me happier than any business success ever has. Because I love you. The words hung in the air between them, spoken quietly but with absolute certainty. Kiana felt her heart stop, then restart at double speed. Nathan. I know it's complicated, he continued quickly. I know we haven't talked about feelings or relationships or what this thing between us actually is. But I couldn't offer you this opportunity without being honest about why it matters so much to me. Kiana stared at him, this man who had somehow become the center of her world without her quite realizing when it happened. You love me? I love everything about you. Your strength, your kindness, your stubborn independence, the way you make Tyler feel like he can conquer the world, the way you've brought Sophia back to life, the way you've brought me back to life. I love the sound of your laugh and the way you hum while you cook and how you always put everyone else's needs before your own. Tears were streaming down Kiana's face now, but she couldn't seem to find words. I love how you've honored Isabella's memory while still making space for yourself in our lives, Nathan continued. I love that Tyler calls me dad now and Sophia reaches for you when she's scared. I love that we've built something beautiful together, something neither of us could have created alone. Nathan, Kiana's voice broke. You don't have to say anything right now, Nathan said gently. I just needed you to know. Whatever you decide about the job, about us, about anything, I needed you to know that you're loved completely and unconditionally. Kiana set the folder aside and moved closer to him on the couch. You beautiful, impossible man, she said through her tears. Did you really think I didn't love you back? Nathan's face transformed with hope. You do. I've been in love with you for months. I just thought it was too complicated, too soon, too much to hope for. I thought you still saw me as Sophia's caregiver, someone you were grateful to but not someone you could actually love. Kiana Washington, Nathan said, framing her face with his hands, you are the strongest, most beautiful, most amazing woman I have ever known. Grateful doesn't even begin to cover what I feel for you. Then show me, she whispered. Nathan kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of months of unspoken longing. It was a kiss that tasted like coming home, like finding the missing piece of themselves they hadn't even known they were looking for. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Nathan rested his forehead against hers. Does this mean you'll take the job? Kiana laughed, the sound bright and joyful. Are you using your romantic declaration to manipulate me into accepting your business proposal? Maybe a little, Nathan admitted with a grin. Is it working? Yes, but not for the reasons you think. Kiana picked up the folder again, studying the details with new eyes. I'll take the job because it's an incredible opportunity and because I trust your belief in me. But mostly because I want to build something meaningful with you, something that helps other families the way we've helped each other. So that's a yes to the job and a yes to? A yes to whatever this is between us, Kiana said firmly. A yes to seeing where this goes. A yes to building a life together instead of just sharing a house. Nathan's smile was brilliant. In that case, there's one more thing in the folder. Kiana flipped through the papers and found a small velvet box tucked into the back pocket. Her breath caught. Nathan, what is this? Open it and see. With trembling fingers, she opened the box to reveal a stunning but understated diamond ring. Classic, elegant, perfect for her taste. Kiana Washington, Nathan said, sliding off the couch to kneel in front of her. Will you marry me? Will you let me love you and Tyler and Sophia for the rest of our lives? Will you build a future with me, starting with designing a building that helps other families find what we found together? Kiana looked down at this man she'd fallen in love with so completely, this man who had somehow given her everything she'd never dared to dream of. Behind him, she could see family photos on the mantle, pictures they'd taken together over the past months, images of Tyler and Sophia growing up side by side, moments of joy and love and belonging. Yes, she said, laughing and crying at the same time. Yes to all of it. Yes to marrying you, yes to designing your building, yes to whatever crazy, beautiful life we're going to build together. Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly, just like everything else about them. As he kissed her again, Kiana could hear Sophia stirring in her nursery and Tyler talking in his sleep in the next room. Their family was complete. Not because they'd followed some predetermined path, but because they'd chosen each other again and again, in small moments and big decisions, until choosing each other had become as natural as breathing. And tomorrow, they would start building something even more beautiful together, a place where other families could find the hope and help and love that had saved them all. The engagement had been a whirlwind of joy, celebration, and the wonderful chaos of planning a wedding while managing 2 small children, a business empire, and Kiana's first major design project. 3 months later, as Kiana stood in what would become the main family resource center of the Rodriguez Family Wellness Center, she marveled at how much their lives had changed. The contractors finished the children's play area this morning, said Maria Santos, the project coordinator Nathan had hired to help Kiana navigate the complexities of commercial construction. Do you want to take a look? Kiana followed Maria through the building that was slowly becoming her vision realized. The space that had once been cold and industrial now glowed with warm, welcoming colors and natural light. She designed different areas for different needs: quiet spaces for counseling, bright play areas for children, comfortable seating areas where parents could rest and connect with each other. It's perfect, Kiana breathed, looking at the play area with its soft flooring, built-in reading nooks, and carefully chosen toys and books. Children are going to love playing here while their parents get the help they need. Your fiancé stopped by earlier, Maria said with a knowing smile. He couldn't stop grinning when he saw the progress. He's very proud of you. Kiana felt warmth spread through her chest. Nathan had been her biggest champion throughout the project, offering support and encouragement when she doubted herself, connecting her with experts when she needed technical advice, but always making sure the creative vision remained hers. How's the timeline looking for the opening? Kiana asked as they walked through the nearly completed space. Right on schedule for next month. The medical equipment is being installed next week, staff training starts the week after, and then we'll be ready for our first families. Kiana nodded, excitement and nervousness battling in her stomach. This project had become so much more than a job to her. It was her chance to give back, to create something that would help families like hers find hope when they needed it most. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. Emergency at home. Can you come back? Kiana's heart jumped into her throat. I have to go, she told Maria. Nathan needs me at home. The drive back to the penthouse felt like the longest 20 minutes of her life. What could be wrong? Were the children hurt? Was there some kind of crisis she needed to handle? She burst through the front door calling out, Nathan? Tyler? What's the emergency? In here, came Nathan's voice from the living room, but he sounded amused rather than panicked. Kiana rushed around the corner to find Nathan sitting on the floor with Sophia in his lap, while Tyler knelt beside them with what appeared to be finger paints covering his hands and clothes. What? Kiana began, then stopped as she saw what they were working on. Spread across the coffee table was a large canvas with handprints in various colors: Nathan's large handprints in blue, Tyler's medium-sized ones in green, and tiny baby handprints in pink from Sophia's hands, which Nathan was currently helping her press into the paint. We're making you an engagement present, Tyler announced proudly. Dad's idea. Dad. Tyler had started calling Nathan that a few weeks ago, and it never failed to make both men emotional. It's a family handprint canvas, Nathan explained, helping Sophia press her paint-covered hand onto the canvas one more time. I thought you could hang it in your new office at the center. Nathan Rodriguez, Kiana said, her voice thick with emotion. You scared me to death. I thought there was a real emergency. There was, Nathan said solemnly. Sophia's afternoon nap was about to start, and we needed to get her handprints while she was still awake and cooperative. That's definitely an emergency in my book. Kiana laughed despite herself, sinking down on the floor next to them. You're all completely ridiculous and I love you more than words can express. Sophia, delighted by all the attention and apparently fascinated by the colorful paint on her hands, clapped her messy hands together and squealed with joy, splattering paint on everyone. Sophia. Tyler giggled. You're making a mess. That's what babies do, Kiana said, wiping paint off Sophia's face with a wet wipe. They make beautiful, wonderful messes that become the best memories. Just like this family, Nathan said softly, catching Kiana's eye. Beautiful, wonderful messes that somehow work perfectly. As they worked together to clean up the paint supplies, Kiana marveled at how natural this all felt. 6 months ago, she'd been a single mother working 2 jobs and struggling to make ends meet. Now she was engaged to a wonderful man, pursuing her dream career, and watching her son thrive in ways she'd never imagined possible. How was school today, baby? Kiana asked Tyler as they moved to the kitchen to wash the paint off everyone's hands. Amazing. We learned about butterflies and Mrs. Peterson said I'm reading at a 3rd grade level already. Tyler bounced with excitement. And guess what? There's going to be a Father's Day celebration at school next week, and I asked if Dad could come and she said yes. Nathan's hands stilled under the running water. Father's Day. It would be his first as Tyler's father figure, and clearly Tyler was as excited about it as Nathan was nervous. Of course I'll come, Nathan said, his voice slightly rough with emotion. I wouldn't miss it for anything. You might be the only dad there in a business suit, Kiana warned with a smile. Then I'll change into jeans and a t-shirt, Nathan said immediately. Whatever makes Tyler comfortable. You don't have to change who you are, Kiana said gently. Tyler's proud of you exactly as you are. Aren't you, sweetie? Tyler nodded vigorously. I told everyone at school that my dad runs a big company that helps sick babies get better. Tommy Martinez said that was the coolest job ever. Nathan lifted Tyler up onto the counter so they were eye level. And I told everyone at my office that I have the smartest, bravest, kindest son in the world. My assistant asked if she could meet you because she didn't believe anyone could be as amazing as I said you were. Really? Really? In fact, would you like to come to my office someday? See where I work? Tyler's eyes went wide. Could I? Could Sophia come too? Sophia and Mama both. We'll make it a family field trip. Kiana watched this interaction with a heart so full it felt like it might burst. Nathan had embraced fatherhood with Tyler so completely, so naturally, that sometimes she forgot they weren't biologically related. He never treated Tyler as anything less than his own son, never made distinctions between Tyler and Sophia in terms of love or attention or commitment. Speaking of family, Nathan said, setting Tyler back on the floor and turning to Kiana, I have something to discuss with you. More surprises? Kiana asked with mock suspicion. Just one more, I promise. My parents want to meet you and Tyler before the wedding. Kiana felt her stomach drop. Nathan's parents. She'd been so caught up in their bubble of happiness that she'd almost forgotten he had family who would have opinions about their relationship. They want to meet us? She asked carefully. They're flying in from Barcelona next weekend. They've been traveling through Europe for the past 6 months, which is why they haven't been around. But they want to meet their future daughter-in-law and grandson before the wedding. What if they don't like me? Kiana asked, voicing her deepest fear. What if they think I'm not good enough for you or that this is all too fast? Nathan moved to stand in front of her, taking her hands in his. Kiana, my parents are going to love you. How could they not? You've made their son happier than he's been in years, you've given them a granddaughter who's thriving and a grandson they're going to adore. You've brought our family back to life. But I'm not from your world, Nathan. I don't know how to talk to rich people or act at fancy parties. What if I embarrass you? You could never embarrass me, Nathan said firmly. You're intelligent, kind, graceful, and genuine. Those are the qualities that matter to people worth knowing. And if someone judges you for anything else, then their opinion doesn't matter to me. Tyler, who had been listening to this conversation with growing concern, tugged on Kiana's sleeve. Mama, are you worried about meeting Grandma and Grandpa? A little bit, baby. Don't be worried. They're going to love you because Dad loves you, and because you're the best mama in the whole world. Tyler's right, Nathan said, kissing Kiana's forehead. My parents raised me to value character over status, love over money. They're going to see what I see: a woman who has overcome incredible challenges with grace, who loves fiercely and completely, who has made their family whole again. Sophia chose that moment to demand attention, babbling loudly from her high chair where she'd been patiently waiting for someone to remember she existed. "Yes, princess, we see you," Nathan said, lifting her up. "Are you ready to meet your abuela and abuelo next weekend?" Sophia gurgled happily as if she approved of the plan. "See," Nathan said to Kiana. "Even Sophia thinks it's going to be fine." "What should I cook for them?" Kiana asked, her mind already racing through menu possibilities. "What do they like to eat? Do they have dietary restrictions? Should I make something traditional or try to impress them with something fancy?" "Kiana, breathe," Nathan laughed. "You don't have to cook at all. We can take them to a restaurant or order catering, or whatever makes you most comfortable." "No," Kiana said firmly, her natural instincts taking over. "Family dinners should be at home, around our table, with home-cooked food. That's how you welcome people into your family." Nathan's expression softened. "Then cook whatever feels right to you. They'll love anything you make because you made it with love." "Will you help me plan the menu?" Kiana asked. "Tell me about their favorite foods, what they enjoyed when you were growing up." "Of course. We'll plan it together, just like we do everything else." As they spent the rest of the evening discussing menu options and planning for the visit, Kiana felt her anxiety slowly transform into excitement. These were Nathan's parents, the people who had raised the man she loved, who had shaped him into someone capable of such deep love and generosity. They couldn't be too different from their son. And if they were coming all the way from Spain to meet her and Tyler, it meant they cared about Nathan's happiness. It meant they wanted to welcome his new family with open arms. "One more thing," Nathan said as they were putting Tyler to bed that night. "My mother is going to want to help plan the wedding. She's very enthusiastic about family celebrations." "Is that a polite way of saying she's going to take over?" Kiana asked with amusement. "It's a polite way of saying she's going to have a lot of opinions and suggestions, all of them coming from a place of love and excitement." "Then I look forward to her opinions and suggestions," Kiana said. "I've been planning this wedding by myself for so long, it'll be nice to have someone else who's as invested in making it perfect." "You really mean that?" "Nathan, your parents are going to be Tyler and Sophia's grandparents. They're going to be my family too. I want to build relationships with them, not just tolerate their presence." Nathan pulled her close, marveling once again at her generous heart. "How did I get so lucky?" "We both got lucky," Kiana corrected. "We found each other when we needed it most, and we had the courage to build something beautiful together." As they settled into bed that night, Sophia sleeping peacefully in her nursery and Tyler dreaming in his room down the hall, Kiana felt a deep sense of contentment wash over her. Their family was growing, expanding to include more people who would love and support their children. Next weekend, she would meet Nathan's parents and hopefully gain not just their approval, but their genuine affection. And in just a few more weeks, she would walk down the aisle and officially become Mrs. Rodriguez, making their family complete in every legal and ceremonial way. But the truth was, they were already complete. They had been from the moment they chose to care for each other, to build something together, to love without reservation or condition. Everything else was just paperwork and celebration. The morning of Nathan's parents' arrival dawned bright and clear, and Kiana had been awake since 5 a.m., double-checking every detail of the dinner she'd planned. The kitchen counter was covered with ingredients for paella. Nathan had told her it was his mother's favorite dish, and Kiana was determined to make it perfectly. "You're going to wear a hole in the floor," Nathan said, watching her pace around the kitchen while Sophia sat in her high chair, contentedly eating her breakfast. "I just want everything to be perfect," Kiana said, checking the rice for the third time. "What if the paella doesn't turn out right? What if Tyler gets shy and won't talk to them? What if Sophia has a meltdown right when they arrive? Then we'll order pizza, Tyler will warm up eventually, and Sophia will charm them even if she's crying," Nathan said calmly. "Kiana, they're not coming here to judge our domestic skills. They're coming here to meet the woman their son loves and the children who have made him happy again." Tyler came running into the kitchen, dressed in his best button-down shirt and khaki pants. "Do I look okay to meet Grandma and Grandpa?" "You look very handsome," Kiana said, smoothing down his hair. "But remember, if you get uncomfortable or nervous, just stay close to me or Dad, okay?" "I'm not nervous," Tyler said with 4-year-old confidence. "I'm excited. I've never had grandparents before." Nathan's parents had died when he was in college, and Kiana's had passed away before Tyler was born. This would indeed be Tyler's first experience with grandparents, just as it would be Elena and Carlos Rodriguez's first experience being grandparents. The doorbell rang at exactly 6 p.m., and Kiana's stomach jumped into her throat. "They're here," she whispered. "We're ready," Nathan assured her, kissing her cheek before going to answer the door. Kiana heard voices in the entryway, Nathan's warm greeting, followed by two other voices speaking rapid Spanish mixed with English. Then Nathan was leading his parents into the living room, and Kiana got her first look at the people who had raised the man she loved. Elena Rodriguez was a petite woman in her early 60s with kind eyes and an elegant bearing that spoke of natural grace rather than pretension. Carlos was tall like Nathan, with silver hair and the same warm smile as his son. They both looked tired from traveling but genuinely excited to be there. "Mama, Papa," Nathan said, his voice thick with emotion, "I'd like you to meet Kiana and Tyler." Kiana stepped forward, Tyler's hand in hers, and suddenly found herself enveloped in a warm hug from Elena. "Mija," Elena said softly, "thank you for making our son smile again. We can see it in his eyes, how happy you've made him." "Thank you for raising such a wonderful man," Kiana replied, surprised by how natural it felt to hug this woman she just met. Carlos shook her hand formally, but his eyes were warm. "Nathan has told us so much about you and Tyler. We're honored to meet the woman who saved our family. And this must be Tyler," Elena said, kneeling down to Tyler's level. "Your papa has told us you're very smart and very brave." Tyler smiled shyly but stepped forward. "Are you really my grandma now?" "If you'd like me to be," Elena said gently. "I would be very honored to be your abuela." "What's an abuela?" "It's grandmother in Spanish. Your papa spoke Spanish when he was little, just like you speak English. Could you teach me some Spanish words?" Tyler asked, his shyness disappearing in the face of this interesting possibility. "I would love to teach you Spanish, Mijo. We can start right now if you want." As Elena began teaching Tyler basic Spanish words, Carlos turned to Kiana. "Where is our granddaughter? Nathan has told us she's beautiful, but we want to see for ourselves." "She's in her high chair finishing dinner," Kiana said, leading them to the kitchen. "Fair warning, she's at the age where she likes to throw food when she's done eating." They found Sophia indeed throwing pieces of her dinner onto the floor, babbling happily to herself. When she saw new faces, she stopped mid-throw and stared with the intense curiosity of a baby encountering strangers. "Dios mío," Elena breathed, "she looks just like Nathan when he was a baby." "She has Isabella's eyes," Nathan said softly, lifting Sophia from her high chair. "Sophia, these are your abuelos. Can you say hello?" Sophia studied the new faces seriously for a moment, then broke into a brilliant smile and clapped her hands, earning delighted laughter from both grandparents. "She's perfect," Carlos said, reaching out to stroke Sophia's cheek. "May I hold her?" Nathan carefully transferred Sophia to his father's arms, and she settled immediately, apparently deciding that this man with the familiar smile was trustworthy. "She's so content," Elena observed. "Nathan told us she was difficult in the beginning, but look at her now. So happy and secure." "That's all, Kiana," Nathan said. "She taught me how to be Sophia's father. And Nathan taught Tyler what it means to have a dad," Kiana added. "We've all taught each other how to be a family." Elena's eyes filled with tears. This is exactly what we hoped for when we heard Nathan was getting married again. Not just that he'd found love, but that he'd found belonging. Dinner was a resounding success. The paella turned out perfectly, Tyler charmed his new grandparents with his endless questions and observations, and Sophia demonstrated her newest skills by banging her spoon rhythmically against her high chair tray in what Elena declared was obviously musical talent. "This paella is better than my own mother's," Elena told Kiana, earning a pleased smile. "Where did you learn to cook Spanish food?" "YouTube and 3 practice runs this week," Kiana admitted, making everyone laugh. "I wanted to make something that would remind you of home." "Mija, anywhere our family is together is home," Carlos said warmly. "But we appreciate the effort you put into welcoming us." After dinner, they moved to the living room where Tyler proudly showed his new grandparents his artwork, his favorite books, and his collection of toy cars. Elena and Carlos listened with the rapt attention of people genuinely interested in a child's perspective on the world. "You know," Elena said to Nathan as Tyler explained the complex storyline he'd created for his toy cars, "I always worried that you'd never let anyone close enough to give you children to spoil. I'm so glad I was wrong." "I was wrong about a lot of things," Nathan admitted. "I thought love had to look a certain way, happen on a certain timeline. Kiana taught me that love just has to be real." "And what does real love look like?" Carlos asked with the interest of someone who had been married for 35 years and still wanted to understand the mystery of lasting partnership. Nathan looked across the room at Kiana, who was helping Sophia stack blocks while keeping one ear on Tyler's elaborate car story. Real love looks like someone feeding your baby when you've forgotten how to care for anyone, including yourself. It looks like accepting help without making the person giving it feel like they're doing charity. It looks like building something together that's stronger than what either of you could create alone. It looks like choosing each other every day, Kiana added, having overheard the conversation. Not just the big romantic gestures, but the small daily decisions to be kind, to be patient, to put the family's needs alongside your own. Elena wiped her eyes with her napkin. Isabella would have loved you, Mija. She would have been so grateful that Sophia has a mother who speaks about love with such wisdom. I hope so, Kiana said softly. I think about her every day. I want Sophia to know her mother's story, to understand that she was deeply wanted and loved from the moment she was conceived. Nathan told us you've created a memory book for Sophia about Isabella, Carlos said. That shows tremendous generosity of spirit. It shows love, Kiana corrected. When you love someone completely, you love their history too. Isabella is part of Nathan's story, which makes her part of our family's story. Later that evening, after Tyler had fallen asleep on Carlos's lap during story time and Sophia had been tucked into her crib, the adults sat on the terrace overlooking the city, sharing wine and watching the sunset. We have something for you, Elena said, producing a small wrapped box from her purse. It's a Rodriguez family tradition. Kiana opened the box to find a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant shaped like a tree. It's beautiful, but I don't understand the significance. It's the family tree pendant, Nathan explained, his voice emotional. My grandmother gave it to my mother when she married my father. It represents the idea that when you marry into the Rodriguez family, you don't just gain a husband, you gain roots, branches, an entire tree of people who will love and support you. And now we pass it to you, Elena said, fastening the necklace around Kiana's neck. Welcome to the family, Mija. Officially and completely. Kiana touched the pendant with trembling fingers. Thank you. For accepting me, for loving Tyler like he's your own grandson, for raising a son who knows how to love without reservation. Thank you for bringing our family back to life, Carlos said simply. For giving us grandchildren to spoil and holidays to celebrate and reasons to smile again. As the evening wound down and everyone prepared for bed, Nathan found Kiana in their bedroom, staring at herself in the mirror while wearing the family necklace. How do you feel? He asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Like I belong somewhere, she said softly. Like Tyler and I aren't just survivors anymore, we're part of something bigger and stronger and more beautiful than I ever imagined possible. You are. We all are. And in 3 weeks, when we say our vows in front of everyone we love, it'll be official in every way that matters. Kiana leaned back against Nathan's chest, watching their reflection in the mirror. I love you, Nathan Rodriguez. I love the family we've built and the future we're going to create together. I love you too, Kiana Washington. Soon to be Rodriguez. Soon to be, she agreed, and as they held each other in the quiet of their bedroom, with their children sleeping peacefully down the hall and Nathan's parents in the guest room already planning ways to spoil their new grandchildren, Kiana felt the deep contentment of a woman who had found her place in the world. She was loved. Tyler was loved. Sophia was loved. They were part of something bigger now, something that would support and sustain them through whatever challenges life might bring. They were home. 2 weeks before the wedding, as final preparations swirled around them in a whirlwind of flowers, caterers, and last-minute details, Nathan found himself standing in his study at 3 a.m, unable to sleep. The Rodriguez Family Wellness Center was set to open in just 5 days, Kiana's design project finally complete and more beautiful than he had ever imagined possible. But it wasn't excitement keeping him awake, it was fear. Not fear of marrying Kiana, but fear that he hadn't been completely honest with her about something that could change everything. Nathan. Kiana's voice came from the doorway, soft and concerned. What are you doing up? Is everything okay? She was wearing one of his old t-shirts as a nightgown, her hair messy from sleep, and she had never looked more beautiful to him. The thought that he might lose her made his chest tighten with panic. I couldn't sleep, he said, turning from the window where he'd been staring out at the city lights. Too much on my mind, I guess. Kiana studied his face with the careful attention of someone who had learned to read his moods perfectly. This isn't wedding nerves, is it? Something's wrong. Nathan's heart clenched at how well she knew him, how easily she could see through his attempts to hide his emotional state. It was one of the things he loved most about her and one of the things that made this conversation so terrifying. Kiana, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you months ago. She moved into the room, immediately alert. What is it? Nathan gestured to the chair across from his desk. Please sit down. Nathan, you're scaring me. Just tell me what's wrong. The night we met, Nathan began, his voice rough with emotion. When I collapsed outside the community center with Sophia, that wasn't random. I wasn't just walking by. Kiana frowned, trying to understand. What do you mean? I had been watching you for weeks before that night. Following you, learning your routines, studying your life. The color drained from Kiana's face. What? Not in a creepy way, Nathan said quickly, seeing her expression. Not like a stalker or anything predatory. It was business. At first. I don't understand. What kind of business involves watching single mothers? Nathan took a shaky breath, knowing that his next words could destroy everything they'd built together. Rodriguez Industries was considering funding a new community outreach program. We wanted to identify families who were struggling but resilient, people who could benefit from help and potentially become success stories for the program. Kiana stared at him, horror dawning in her eyes. You were studying me like a lab rat? Your name came up in our research because you'd applied for several assistance programs but never followed through on any of them. Our investigators noted that you were working 2 jobs, raising Tyler alone, but somehow managing to keep him in good schools and maintain stable housing. You were exactly the kind of person we wanted to help. Investigators. Kiana's voice was barely a whisper. Private researchers who help us identify potential beneficiaries for our charitable programs. They provided reports on your daily routines, your work schedules, your financial situation. I read every report because I wanted to understand what kind of person we'd be helping. Kiana stood up abruptly, backing away from him. So that night when you collapsed, when Sophia was crying, was real, Nathan said desperately. Everything that happened that night was completely real. I had stopped the investigation weeks before, told my team I wanted to handle the approach differently. But I was still struggling with Sophia, still drowning in grief, still falling apart as a father. But you knew who I was when I helped you. Yes, Nathan admitted, the word coming out like a confession of murder. I knew who you were, where you lived, what your struggles were. I knew you were exactly the kind of person who would help someone in need without thinking twice about it. Kiana's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. You used my kindness against me. You manipulated me into helping you. No. Nathan stood up, reaching for her, but she stepped further away. Kiana, please let me explain. It wasn't manipulation. I was genuinely falling apart that night. Sophia was genuinely hungry and upset. I genuinely didn't know what to do anymore. But you chose my street, didn't you? You chose to collapse where you knew I would find you. Nathan's silence was answer enough. How long? Kiana asked, her voice deadly quiet. How long were you watching me before that night? 6 weeks, Nathan said, the admission tearing at his throat. 6 weeks. Kiana sank into the chair, her legs apparently unable to hold her up anymore. You watched me struggle for 6 weeks, watched me work double shifts and worry about rent and try to make ends meet, and you just observed. Like I was some kind of experiment. It wasn't like that. The more I learned about you, the more I admired you. You were raising Tyler with such love and strength, making sacrifices without complaining, building a good life out of nothing. I started to think about you as a person, not just a case study. Is that supposed to make this better? Kiana's eyes blazed with hurt and fury. You admired me so much that you decided to play God with my life? I fell in love with you before we ever met, Nathan said desperately. Reading those reports, seeing your strength and resilience and capacity for love, I fell in love with who you were from a distance. That's why I stopped the investigation. That's why I was struggling with how to approach you when everything happened that night. You fell in love with a file, Nathan. With a story about me, not with me. No, that's not true. The moment you took Sophia in your arms, the moment you brought us home without asking for anything in return, I knew that everything I'd read about you was just the surface. The real you was even more extraordinary than I had imagined. Kiana was crying now, tears streaming down her face. How much of this relationship has been real, Nathan? How much of it has been you working from some kind of playbook about what you thought I needed to hear? All of it, Nathan said, his own tears starting to fall. Every moment since that first night has been completely real. My feelings for you, my love for Tyler, my gratitude for what you've done for Sophia, none of that was planned or calculated. It was all just love. Pure, honest love. But it was built on a lie. It was built on love, Nathan insisted. Yes, I should have told you the truth earlier. Yes, I should have been honest about how we met. But everything we've built together, everything we've become, that's real, Kiana. That's true. Kiana stood up again, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. I need time to think. I need space to figure out what this means. Kiana, please don't go. We can work through this. We can. Can we? She interrupted. Can we really? Because right now I don't know what's real and what's not. I don't know if you love me or if you love some idealized version of me that you created in your head from reading reports about my life. I love you, Nathan said with everything he had. I love your laugh when Tyler says something funny. I love how you hum while you cook. I love how you put everyone else's needs before your own. I love how you've honored Isabella's memory while making space for yourself in our family. I love watching you discover your own dreams and talents. None of that came from a file, Kiana. All of that came from living with you, loving you, building a life with you. But you started this relationship with a massive lie of omission. How do I trust anything you say now? Nathan felt his world cracking apart around him. What can I do? Tell me what I can do to fix this. You can't fix this, Nathan. This isn't something you can solve with money or grand gestures or good intentions. You violated my privacy, you manipulated our first meeting, and you've been lying to me for almost a year about how we really met. So what does this mean? Are you calling off the wedding? Are you leaving? Kiana looked at him with eyes full of pain and confusion. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I need time to think about what this means for us, for Tyler, for Sophia. I need to figure out if I can trust you again. Where will you go? I'll stay in the guest room for now. Tyler and Sophia don't need to be disrupted until I figure out what I'm going to do. Nathan watched helplessly as the woman he loved walked out of his study, taking his heart and his hope with her. He had finally told her the truth, but instead of bringing them closer together, it might have destroyed them completely. As he sank into his chair and buried his face in his hands, Nathan realized that he had made the biggest mistake of his life. Not in falling in love with Kiana, that was the best thing that had ever happened to him. His mistake was in not trusting her with the truth from the beginning, not believing that she was strong enough and loving enough to understand his complicated path to finding her. Now he could only wait and hope that the love they had built together was strong enough to survive the foundation of deception it had been built on. And pray that Kiana would give him the chance to prove that everything else between them had been completely, utterly real. 3 days had passed since Nathan's confession, and the tension in the penthouse was thick enough to cut with a knife. Kiana had moved into the guest room as promised, maintaining a polite but distant demeanor when they interacted around the children. Tyler and Sophia seemed to sense that something was wrong, with Tyler asking repeatedly why Mama seemed sad and Sophia becoming clingy and fussy. Nathan had barely slept, eaten, or focused on work. He went through the motions of his daily routine, but his heart was breaking more with each hour that passed without resolution. The wedding was supposed to happen in 11 days, and he had no idea if his bride would still be there to walk down the aisle. On Thursday morning, Kiana received a call that changed everything. Mrs. Rodriguez? The voice on the phone was unfamiliar, professional. It's Ms. Washington actually, Kiana corrected automatically. How can I help you? This is Janet Coleman from the mayor's office. I'm calling about the Rodriguez Family Wellness Center. We understand you were the lead designer on the project. Yes, that's correct. Ma'am, I'm calling to inform you that the center has been selected to receive the Mayor's Award for Community Innovation at next week's civic ceremony. The award recognizes projects that demonstrate exceptional commitment to improving the lives of families in our city. Kiana sank into a chair, overwhelmed. Thank you. That's incredibly honoring. The ceremony is next Tuesday evening. We'd like you and Mr. Rodriguez to be there to accept the award together, if that's possible. After Kiana hung up, she sat in the quiet of her temporary bedroom, thinking about the project that had become so much more than just a job. She thought about the families who would be helped in the building she had designed, the children who would play in the spaces she had created, the parents who would find support and community in the room she had carefully planned. That afternoon, while Nathan was at work and Tyler was at school, Kiana made a decision. She bundled Sophia into her stroller and took the bus across town to the Riverside Community Center, the place where it all began. Mrs. Rivera was still working the front desk, and her face lit up when she saw Kiana approaching with a baby. Mija, look at you, so beautiful and glowing. And who is this precious angel? This is Sophia, Kiana said, lifting the baby from the stroller. I wanted you to meet her. Mrs. Rivera immediately reached for Sophia, who went to her willingly. She's beautiful, sweetheart. Is she yours? It's complicated, Kiana said with a sad smile. But yes, she's mine in all the ways that matter. They sat in the community room where Kiana had spent so many hours over the years, attending parenting classes and support groups when Tyler was younger. Tell me what's troubling you, Mrs. Rivera said with the direct compassion of someone who had been helping people work through their problems for decades. Kiana found herself pouring out the whole story, meeting Nathan, falling in love, building a family together, and then learning about the investigation that had brought them together. So you see, Kiana concluded, I don't know what's real anymore. Did he really love me, or did he just love the idea of me that he created from reading about my life? Mrs. Rivera was quiet for a long moment, bouncing Sophia gently while she considered Kiana's words. Mije, can I ask you something? Of course. In all the months you've been with this man, has he ever treated you like anything less than his equal? Kiana thought about it. No. Never. Has he ever made you feel like a project or a charity case? No. He's always been very careful to make sure I felt valued for who I am, not just grateful for his help. Has he ever used information about your past to manipulate or control you? No, Kiana said slowly. He's never brought up anything he shouldn't have known about my life before we met. Then let me tell you what I think, Mrs. Rivera said gently. I think this man made a mistake in how he approached you, but I don't think he was trying to hurt you. I think he was a grieving father who was drowning and saw in you the kind of strength and love he desperately needed. But he lied to me. Yes, he did. And that's something you'll have to decide if you can forgive. But Kiana, I've seen you with many men over the years. I've seen you with Tyler's father, who took advantage of your kindness and left when things got difficult. I've seen you with men who wanted to change you or fix you or use you. Kiana nodded, remembering those painful relationships. But when you talk about Nathan, your whole face changes. You light up with the joy of someone who feels truly seen and valued. You talk about a man who celebrates your strength instead of trying to diminish it, who loves your son like his own, who supports your dreams even when they're inconvenient for him. That's all true, Kiana admitted. Then ask yourself this. Do you want to throw away the best relationship you've ever had because it started imperfectly? Or do you want to find a way to build something even stronger from here? Sophia had fallen asleep in Mrs. Rivera's arms, completely content and peaceful. Looking at her, Kiana realized something important. You know what the strangest part is? She said. I'm not even angry about him watching me anymore. I'm angry that he didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth from the beginning. Ah, Mrs. Rivera said with understanding. So this isn't really about how you met. This is about trust. Exactly. I can understand why he did what he did. A grieving father looking for help, wanting to make sure his charity would really make a difference. But why didn't he tell me after we became close? Why let me believe it was all coincidence? Why don't you ask him? That evening, Kiana found Nathan in his study again, staring out the window just as he had been 3 nights ago. This time she didn't hesitate at the doorway. We need to talk, she said, closing the door behind her. Nathan turned, hope and fear warring in his expression. Kiana. I went to see Mrs. Rivera today. The woman from the community center who helped me when Tyler was little. Nathan nodded, waiting. She helped me understand something important. I'm not angry about how we met, Nathan. I'm angry that you didn't trust me with the truth. I was afraid, Nathan admitted immediately. I was afraid you'd think our entire relationship was fake, that you'd never be able to trust that my feelings were real. So instead you chose to lie to me for almost a year? I chose to be a coward, Nathan said simply. I chose to protect myself instead of trusting the woman I love to understand a complicated situation. Kiana moved to sit in the chair across from his desk, just as she had 3 nights ago. But this time her posture was less defensive, more open to dialogue. Tell me about the investigation, she said. All of it. I want to understand exactly what happened. Nathan took a deep breath and began to speak. He told her about the community outreach program Rodriguez Industries had been considering, about how her name had come up as a potential beneficiary. He explained the reports he'd read about her daily routines, her work schedule, her financial struggles. The investigators noted that you never accepted help, even when you clearly needed it, Nathan said. That intrigued me. Most people in difficult situations will take assistance when it's offered, but you seemed determined to handle everything alone. Kiana admitted. I didn't trust that help wouldn't come with strings attached. I know that now. But at the time I just saw someone who was incredibly strong and self-reliant, someone who was giving her son a good life despite having very few resources. I started to think about you not as a case study, but as a person I admired. When did you stop the investigation? About 2 weeks before that night we met. I told my team I wanted to approach you differently, that the formal charity route felt wrong for your situation. I was trying to figure out how to meet you naturally when everything happened with Sophia. Kiana studied his face carefully. But you chose my street that night. You chose to collapse where you knew I would find you. Yes, Nathan said, not trying to defend or justify. I was genuinely falling apart, genuinely at the end of my rope with Sophia. But yes, I chose that location because I knew you walked that route home from work. Why didn't you tell me afterward? When we started getting close? At first, because I was afraid it would change how you saw me. Later, because too much time had passed and I didn't know how to bring it up without it seeming like I'd been deliberately deceiving you. Which you had been. Yes, I had been. They sat in silence for several minutes, the weight of honesty settling between them. Nathan, do you understand why this hurts so much? Kiana asked finally. Because I lied to you. Because you didn't trust me, she corrected. You didn't trust that I was strong enough or understanding enough to handle the truth. You decided what I could and couldn't deal with instead of giving me the choice. Nathan's face crumpled with understanding. You're right. I made decisions about our relationship without including you in them. I treated you like you needed to be protected instead of respecting you as an equal partner. And that's what has to change, Kiana said firmly. If we're going to move forward from this, you have to trust me completely. No more protecting me from difficult truths, no more making unilateral decisions about what I can handle. Does that mean? Nathan hardly dared to hope. Does that mean you want to move forward? Kiana was quiet for a long time, thinking about everything Mrs. Rivera had said, everything she'd felt over the past year, everything she stood to lose or gain. I love you, Nathan Rodriguez, she said finally. I love the man you've become since we've been together, the father you've become to both Tyler and Sophia, the partner you've been to me in building this family. I love our life together. But I need to know that you trust me as much as I trust you. I need to know that you see me as your equal, not as someone you need to manage or protect. Nathan got up from his chair and came around the desk to kneel in front of her, taking her hands in his. Kiana, you are the strongest person I know. You've overcome challenges that would have broken most people, and you've done it with grace and dignity and an open heart. You don't need protecting, you need partnering. And I promise you, if you give me another chance, I will never make decisions about our relationship without including you again. What about the wedding? Kiana asked. It's supposed to happen in a week. Whatever you want, Nathan said immediately. If you want to postpone it until we've rebuilt this trust, we'll postpone it. If you want to call it off entirely, we'll call it off. If you want to elope tomorrow in Las Vegas, we'll do that. I just want to be with you in whatever way you'll have me. Kiana looked down at their joined hands, at the engagement ring she was still wearing despite everything. I don't want to postpone the wedding. Nathan's breath caught. You don't? I want to marry you next Saturday in front of our families and friends with Tyler and Sophia as our witnesses. I want to promise to love you and trust you and build a life with you for the rest of our days. Even after what I've done? Because of what we've built together despite your mistakes, Kiana corrected. Nathan, perfect people don't exist. What matters is that you told me the truth, that you're sorry for the deception, and that you're committed to doing better going forward. Nathan's eyes filled with tears. I am. I'm so committed to being the man you deserve, the partner you need. Then we move forward together, Kiana said, leaning down to kiss him softly. But Nathan? Yes. No more secrets. Ever. If something is bothering you, if you're worried about something, if you're planning some grand gesture, you talk to me first. We're partners now, which means we make decisions together. No more secrets, Nathan promised. Complete honesty even when it's difficult. Especially when it's difficult. They held each other in the quiet of his study, both crying with relief and joy and the deep satisfaction of having worked through something difficult together instead of letting it tear them apart. There's something else, Nathan said eventually. The mayor's office called while you were out. The Wellness Center won an award for community innovation. We're supposed to accept it together next Tuesday. I know. They called me too. Kiana smiled through her tears. I think it's fitting that we'll be honored for creating something beautiful together right before we officially become a family. About that, Nathan said, suddenly looking nervous again. What now? Kiana asked with mock exasperation. I may have invited about 200 people to our wedding. Kiana stared at him. 200 people? My business associates wanted to celebrate with us, and your professors from school and everyone from the Wellness Center project, and half the neighborhood seems to have adopted Tyler and Sophia as honorary grandchildren. Nathan Rodriguez, Kiana said, starting to laugh despite herself. Are you telling me our intimate family wedding has turned into a massive party? I'm telling you that apparently we have a lot of people who love us and want to celebrate our happiness, Nathan said sheepishly. But if you want to scale it back. No, Kiana said, her laughter growing stronger. Let's have a party. Let's celebrate with everyone who's supported us and loved us and helped us become the family we are today. Really? Really? But next time you invite 200 people to something, you discuss it with me first. Deal? Nathan said, kissing her again. Though I have to warn you, my mother has some very strong opinions about wedding flowers. I'd be disappointed if she didn't, Kiana replied. After all, she's about to become Tyler's abuela and Sophia's abuela and my mother-in-law. She's earned the right to have opinions. As they sat together in his study, planning their future and laughing about wedding preparations, both Tyler and Sophia appeared in the doorway in their pajamas. Are you and Mama happy again, Dad? Tyler asked with the directness of a child who had been worrying about his family. We're very happy again, Nathan assured him, opening his arms so Tyler could climb onto his lap. Good, Tyler said with satisfaction. Sophia missed you, Mama. She kept looking for you. Did she? Kiana asked, reaching for Sophia, who immediately snuggled into her arms with a contented sigh. She knows you're her mama now, Tyler observed with 4-year-old wisdom. Just like you're my mama and Dad is my dad. That's right, sweetheart, Kiana said, her heart full to overflowing. We're a family and families stick together through everything. Even when people make mistakes? Tyler asked. Especially when people make mistakes, Nathan said. Because that's when families show how much they love each other by forgiving and working together to do better. As they sat together in Nathan's study, Nathan with Tyler on his lap, Kiana holding Sophia, all of them finally together again, Kiana felt a deep sense of peace settle over her. They had weathered their first real crisis as a family, and they had come through it stronger and more committed to each other than ever. In 6 days, she would walk down the aisle to marry the man she loved, with their children as witnesses and their community as celebration. They would promise to love each other through whatever challenges came their way, to trust each other with their deepest fears and highest hopes, to build something beautiful together for the rest of their lives. But the truth was, they were already married in all the ways that mattered. They had chosen each other, fought for each other, forgiven each other, and committed to growing together. The wedding would just make it official. As Sophia dozed in her arms and Tyler chattered about wedding plans, Kiana looked at Nathan and saw her future not perfect, but real and honest and full of the kind of love that lasted. They were home. They were family. They were ready for whatever came next. Dear wonderful readers, thank you for joining Nathan, Kiana, Tyler, and Sophia on their journey to becoming a family. Your support and engagement mean the world to me. I'd love to hear from you. Which moment in this story touched your heart the most? Do you think Kiana made the right choice in forgiving Nathan's deception? What do you think makes a family truly complete? Have you ever experienced the kind of life-changing kindness that Kiana showed Nathan? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspectives and stories inspire me to keep writing tales that celebrate the power of love, forgiveness, and chosen family. Every comment helps me understand what resonates most with readers like you.